You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios out here in Wichita, Kansas. You guys know the rap sheet. I am on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. You can comment, slide into my DMs, and ask me about sports questions. Give me your opinions, but some of the language that some of you guys use, you got to be careful because I can't say everything that I want to over the radio. Don't forget, you can also call in 316-351-7397. That's 351-7397 and talk to me live via the radio. You can also listen all day, every day at ksunradio.org. That's ksunradio.org. Folks, the Olympics are basically right around the corner. We're looking at 2020 for the next time, and I have with us a huge guest that I'm looking forward to talking to. She is a journalist, an Olympic track athlete. In her time at Murray State, she was the first Olympic trial runner since 1994. I am so excited to talk to her. She's all the way from Florida. Everybody, please welcome to the program, Alexis Love. Alexis, it is so good to have you on the show with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be on the show.
Did I build you up good enough there, Alexis? I feel like that may have been an epic fail on my behalf.
No, you were awesome. My spirit is on 10 right now.
That's good. I'm glad I was able to lift your day up. And speaking of being lifted up, you know, you and I were talking about it before we went on the air right now about Hurricane Irma and everything that's gone on down there in Florida. How is everything looking? Because I know that in your parts down in Palmetto area and all those places, some of that actually was affected by Irma.
Right. Well, in my area, in Clermont, we were directly hit here, but it wasn't as bad as the other areas, and I'm thankful for that. But as I look around, things are getting better. People are starting to get power. The stores are starting to be stocked again with water and food. So things are looking better for us.
There was a lot going on down there with the University of Miami. They had to postpone a game that they had against Florida State. I talked to Armando Alvarez. He competed here with the Nico Hernandez fight card on Saturday. He said that things were actually worse initially than people were reporting. Would you say that it was to that level that when Hurricane Irma hit, it really affected people in a way that even the news couldn't quite accurately assimilate to the audience?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that statement because even in times when you're going through, the news may perceive it one way, but when you're actually in that moment, it's much worse. Even having the anxiety to just trying to, better prepare yourself and make sure that you're safe. It was nerve-wracking.
On top of everything that's been going on with Irma down there, you're training full-time. Did it affect anything that you're doing right now in preparation for the Olympics?
Oh, yes, because even now we call it fall training, and so it's where we start to build our foundation for the indoor season. And normally we would be out on, the grass fields, which is a much softer surface in the track. I wasn't able to do that because there was so much rain. So the only thing I could do was just take it back to the basics, stay inside, and do push-ups and abs. That's about it. So
right now you're just kind of focusing on your body the most that you can. And as far as what you do running wise, you're going to kind of put that on the back burner a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
I'm a football guy. Okay. And in Florida, it's been labeled as the speed state. And I think about the Miami Hurricanes back in the late 90s, right? They had all those guys that they put on track scholarships. What is it about the training down there in Florida that you think breeds a faster type of athlete?
I just think we're some hard workers. I mean, even from an early age, I started running track at 12 years old. But it even starts even before then. While we're going to our local community centers, we always have street races and stuff like that. So in Florida, it's something to do. Everyone is running. Whether you're playing freeze tag, hide and go seek, or whatever game, you're always running. And that's when I knew, even at 12 years old, I'm racing, boys twice my age, and I'm winning the races. I'm like, shoot, I'm pretty fast. And, everyone jokes around and they say, let's do something in the water. But the weather is nice here in Florida, and as kids, we're always outside and being active. So that's how it all starts. And then from there on, we meet up with other local trainers, and the rest is history.
But you were able to keep everything going. I read an article where you were talking about your transition from Florida, obviously being in the heat, basically year-round and constantly being outside, to where now you're in Kentucky at Murray State and you're seeing snow in winter, but it didn't appear to slow you down. How did you keep everything going in your training that kept you getting better and you stayed at the level that you needed to be at?
Well, honestly, I'm a person that's big on integrity and being committed and determined. So I knew I had never been to Kentucky a day in my life, but I knew once I signed that letter of intent and, I confirmed on national television that I was going to attend Murray State, I'm like, you know what, Alexis, there's no turning back now. So when I got to Murray State and I seen snow for the first time, I was in shock, but I was always that one athlete that overdressed in practice, going and walking to classes. I mean, I was covered from head to toe. I was cute. It was stylish, but that's how I got through. And at the end of the day, I knew that I could not return to my hometown. Like, I knew I was there to get the job done, and that's what kept me motivated. I mean, I knew I had something to do.
Me personally, I think that a lot of athletes, and again, thinking from a football standpoint, they are constantly on television at a high school age, barely a senior, already going on national television, as you pointed out, and being committed to a university. At some point, do you think that we televise and maybe give a little bit too much pressure to high school students?
I wouldn't say that, because even when I was attended time out of high school and certain track meets were on TV and, we performed at a higher level than what I had expected at the time, It was I would say a little nerve-wracking and shocking at first, but I mean, after you get over that initial feeling, it's great to be exposed to that at an early age. So that way, when you get to college and then you get to the elite level, then you're not in total shock. It's like, okay, I've been there before. I see the camera on the track, but that's okay. It's better than the last time. So I actually think it's a huge deal to get that exposure, even while being in high school. Now, the pressure, I don't agree with. But the exposure, yes.
We're talking to Alexis Love right here on the Full Court Press. I am Drew Duncan. We're live from the KSUN studios out here in Wichita, Kansas. Alexis, another huge topic of discussion and something that is really beginning to gain traction is not just concerning college student athletes, but it's considering U.S. Olympic athletes. Neither one of them are paid. I think about Gabby Douglas back in 2012. She won 2 Olympic medals while she was in London, and her mother claimed that while she was paying for all of her training, she eventually had to file for bankruptcy. Do you believe that college athletes and Olympic athletes should get paid? And if not, or yes, why or why not are you for or against?
Me personally, I know and I believe that we should get paid because we put in so much hard work. And, from fans or people, spectators looking from the outside in, it's just like, oh, they're great at what they do. They're nice to watch. It's pleasing to the eye. But on our end, I mean, some of us, including myself, we train, 40 hours a week, both on and off the track. It never stops. And for someone like myself, who I've had to sponsor, get local sponsors over the years, I'm not signed to a major shoe company. I still work full time. So that's hard to wake up every morning, go to practice, not have a break in between, and then go and clock in, at a full-time job because, we're not paid to the extent of, other larger organizations or, things like the NFL or NBA. So it's very hard, and that's very well true. I see it happen on a day-to-day basis, especially in our sport.
I think about people like Michael Phelps, who obviously has won so many medals and done so many great things in the Olympics that it's easy for him to go out and find big-name sponsors. But see, though, you have to work hard to get to that level. And, of course, somebody who's working 40 hours at their job wouldn't go to their work and say, where's my paycheck? And the job goes, oh, no, we expect you to work for free. Why is it you think that people take exception to athletes?
I honestly just think it's because we are, we're good at what we do and we put in the work, but they don't really understand it. And I feel like if, more people on the business side took that time out to speak with us, and no, I understand that I'm able to speak to each one of us, one-on-one, but just to understand where we are coming from, then they would have a better idea of why we're so passionate about it, you know. And if you've asked any track athlete, you know, most of us, we have a backstory to why we're, you know, we've chosen this path to be a track runner, but at the same time, our heart is in it. And I think you rarely hear a track runner say, I'm in it for the money. I'm in it for the money, because, you know, in reality, we do not get paid that much.
I think about a backup plan, right? Charles Tillman, former cornerback for the Chicago Bears, is now actually trying out to go into the FBI. He wants to be an agent. Do you have a backup plan? I saw some of your videos on YouTube. It looked like there could be a modeling career in store for you if you wanted it. What would be the direction you would go outside of track?
You know, it's so funny you ask that question, because I always introduce myself as not only Alexis Love, the track athlete. You know, I'm also working on publishing my first book soon. I also do motivational speaking. I do modeling, and I'm an active mentor in my community. So being that I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a degree in social work, my plan is to continue to give back to communities and families and just be active in the role of, you know, rehabilitation, because I believe that, you know, some people do deserve a second chance. And if I could just be that voice, you know, for the teenagers growing up, and just allow them to see that, hey, you know, there is hope at the end of the tunnel. Like, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I found a way out, and track was my outlet. And once I got that, I took it and I ran with it. You know, look where I am today. So I'm already, you know, building myself in other areas. So that way, when it's time for me to, you know, hang up my track spikes, then I have something to fall back on.
Alexis, you're an Olympic athlete. You have a bachelor's degree. You're a record-setting athlete. You give back to your community. You're a part-time model. Is there anything that you don't do?
I guess not.
How do you balance out your day? Look, because I used to play football. I know what it takes to be in a gym. And I interview guys every single day that are athletes. I've interviewed everything from a bodybuilder to track athletes to UFC fighters to NFL football players to coaches like Howard Schnellenberger, I'm sure you're familiar with, down there in Miami. The grind, we're talking in some cases, because film study, working out, we're talking 50, 60 hours a week sometimes. How do you find time to balance out everything that you do?
You know, honestly, it's time, man. For me, I need reminders. I need alerts. I have an iPhone. I have an iPad. So what's important to me is those reminders where every day I set a time, like, okay, do this, do that. And I usually have 2-hour increments to where I'm working on something or bettering myself, whether it's listening to, you know, other motivational speakers. It's all about having, you know, that balance in life, because sometimes I sit and I wonder, I'm like, man, I guess I don't think about it. I just do it. But now that you're actually, you know, throwing back at me like, hey, how are you doing all this stuff at one time? You're only one person. And I realize it's all about having that balance, because, you know, what may look easy to someone else may be hard for the next person. But I'm just here to say, hey, it's possible. I'm doing it all. And I always try to reach beyond the stars. Like, the sky is the limit.
We're talking to Alexis Love right here on K-Sun Radio from Wichita, Kansas, to K-Sun Studios. Alexis, as I do with all of my guests, I'm going to give you the floor. You are definitely no exception to the rule. I'm going to give you a couple of moments here. Throw out all your social media and anything else that you want to promote or say to anybody that's out there listening right now. I'm just going to let you have at it. It's all yours.
Perfect. My favorite part. Okay. So on Instagram, you can follow me at Alexis L. Love. On Twitter, it's also Alexis L. Love. And then I also have a website where it's www.motivatewithlove.com. And on Facebook, I am also on there as Motivate with Love as well. So mainly it's my full name on social media. Super easy to find, Alexis L. Love on Instagram. And you can always go to my website, and I have my social media icons there as well.
Excellent. So good. Great takes all the way around, Alexis. I really appreciate you having you on the program today.
Oh, Okay, I enjoyed being here.
All right, everybody, that was Alexis Love. This is the Full Court Press. I am Drew Duncan. We're live from the K-Sun Studios out here in Wichita, Kansas. There is plenty more to get to. Don't forget, from 1959, Syracuse winner of a national title, Don Brace, is going to be right on this program coming up next. Thank you to Alexis Love for being with us once again. We'll be back right after this. Don't you dare touch that dial.